Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamey Daddy channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. So Hudson Yards, a very interesting place. If you look at the Division 1, and if nobody told you, if you've never seen this before in a video game, you probably won't believe that is a video game that came out a few years ago. And when I say a few years ago, I'm talking about half a decade almost. All right. I mean, can you imagine the amount of work, the amount of polish that would have gone into something like this? And today I was watching, and I recorded this video along with another one, so if I say both today's, it is what it is. And I was watching the day before, and I thought to myself, Ubisoft Massive already made a game like this. So I decided, okay, I'll go into Division 1. I'll turn off a lot of the HUD elements, the levels, all of that stuff, and just walk through my missions and not even use any assist. Basically, I can't see enemies coming because my minimap is off when I start playing. And another thing too that I can't necessarily do is I can't necessarily see some of the different elements that will help me. So I'm just kind of going blind. But the HUD is kind of stubborn. It comes on every time you re-aim or every time you use something from it. I wish it would just stay off for the whole game. I don't know if you can toggle it off in Division 2. Maybe I'll probably do something like that and do some gameplay on the Xbox as well. So this is the Division 1 on the Xbox Series X. For those of you who may be wondering, it's, I think, playing on this full 60 frames per second. This is 1080. I don't know if there's a 4K thing. I don't have any 4K anything. I have 4K devices, but no 4K displays. I don't know why. I don't think it's time yet to invest in the technology. I think right now they're still really excited that they're able to sell it for high prices. And so when they calm down a little bit, or if they ever calm down, maybe I'll consider, investing in something like that. But nonetheless, quality is quality. You can see the quality even at 1080p. You can see the quality at 4K if that's the direction you wanted to go, or say maybe you're playing the new Division games. And one thing that really strikes you is a lot of the elements that this game really brought to the market at the time that it was released. The ecosystem, which was basically kind of a memory to kind of tell you what the story was as you were going through this looter-shooter sequence. And this particular mission as well is very pivotal in the Division universe. So if you guys remember, I think when we were still in some content drought with the Division, one of the Division developers, level designers, I think his nickname is Dynasty. I can't remember. I think his first name may be Jeremy, and he's actually a very talented level designer. And I remember on a stream, this was this interesting stream, he came, to the stream with a whole prep, material ready, and he had Hudson refugee camp on stream on the Snowdrop engine, and he pretty much took this mission and he made it a mission that was actually dedicated to a separate faction. Now, one of the really cool things about this mission as well was that, everybody already had played this mission. We knew the elements, these trains that you see here on the railways and all the whatever it is, you could tell that this is some abandoned, train station of some kind. But he then started to take away the elements that made it a train station and then started to fill it in with elements that were much more indicative of some kind of military or paramilitary presence, and that was the LMB. The LMB are in towards the end game of of this particular progression, and you're going to get to experience them, and you're going to see that not only are the LMB just a faction, they're a faction that actually plays very differently from a lot of the other enemy archetypes in the game. And so he started to take all these elements in real time and converted the entire mission. After about 3 hours, he had converted a lot of the assets and a lot of the things that were here into a mission that you thought was another, entire faction, and had just flipped the entire thing. I thought that was very interesting from an environment design perspective. I was like, man, this is really a huge wow for everybody who may have been watching this. And so when you kind of consider, okay, he was able to do something like that in 3 hours. And I remember a lot of people saying, well, if he could do that in 3 hours, how come we don't really get content as fast as, we should? The truth is that is just a level concept design, as much as, you want to kind of chalk it up to he was able to do it very fast. He's also a talented level designer, no doubt about that. But then there are other things that also come into play. There are gameplay designs that have to also be taken care of. There are things that you have to make sure work. Say, when you bring your character in there, how do you want to place your enemies? How do you want your enemies to behave around that environment that you've just built, around that level that you've just constructed? You know, do you want the enemies to take cover on this side strategically, or if the enemy is taking cover on that side, how do you want them to press against the character? That's the player that's playing the game. Other things that you have to consider is where and how you want enemies to spawn based on different events. So if you're playing this Hudson refugee camp, you know, you're going to be seeing that there are areas where, you know, you run here, you take out these enemies, and then it says, and then you can continue progressing, because sometimes you move over to a specific area and you find out, oh, the enemies have not, you know, finished spawning yet. So you have to back away because they're kind of stronger. They'll press at you, and you have to get yourself in a position where you can aim and destroy them. You have explosive tanks that are around the area which can help you in combat. So those little placements are all part of a gameplay design and a level sequence thing that have to be tested, that has to be planned out. This is what takes time, because there has to be enjoyability to it, and it all depends on the quality control of, you know, the studio themselves. So there are some companies, their quality assurance, you know, has to meet a specific standard, and so depending on the way the quality assurance is designed, you know, or whatever the requirements of the quality design is, they're going to take their time in making sure that that mission, you know, is something that players can enjoy. And they also have to consider difficulty. You see, that's a whole different thing as well. Difficulty is also a big deal. And in Division games, each mission you play after you've actually completed the story version of the mission, which you usually do while you're underpowered anyways, then they'll have difficulty levels. They'll have normal, they'll have hard. If the mission goes up to legendary, or if it goes up to, you know, heroic or whatever. So these different things also have to be factored in. And it being an RPG game, you also have to determine, okay, how much damage is actually realistic? How many NPCs should be attacking you, and how should they be attacking you? You know, because if they start pressing, cleaners will press you, you know, or they will, in a sense, sneak around you. And then you also, in the Division 1, you had the Grenadier cleaners who just kept lobbing those, you know, incendiary grenades at you. So you have to consider, you know, how that would affect the gameplay as well. So all of these mechanics have to all be factored in to this 3-hour, you know, design that then would probably take somewhere around 3 to 6 months just by itself. And that is just one mission. And I think the Division 1 had about 16 or so major missions. Somebody said it was 16. I can't remember its number. And then you have to factor all those in. Now, you not only are factoring, you know, this particular mission with all of the other elements I've talked about, you're factoring it all in with the other missions that are in the game, which also has to do with progression. So on a really slow day, if somebody were to play this Hudson refugee camp for the first time, how are they going to experience it? Are they going to be able to make it through in, you know, 10 minutes in the first time that they play it, or is it going to take them an hour? So guess what? This particular mission, I was able to find people to matchmake with. The first person I found to matchmake with was basically Rambo. They just kept running out there and just wanting to shoot all the enemies, and they just kept going down. I spent more time rezzing them than anything else. And you all know Division 1, like I said, is not a game that holds your hand. And so that was kind of a challenge. And then finally, when we got, you know, further down the mission, the person ran straight into enemy NPCs, just ran, boom. I was like, what are they doing? Thankfully, another person joined. And so when they ran into the NPC, you know, crowd, they went down just, you know, as predicted. And finally, we couldn't get them quickly enough before they decided to, I think they disconnected. Maybe their game crashed. I think that may have been it. But you also have to consider those things. If they add, you know, other players, because matchmaking is available at basically every mission from the police precinct. I think you can matchmake from there. And so you also have to consider, if for matchmake, what's the difficulty scaling for 2 players based on the way this mission works? What's the difficulty scaling for 3 and 4 players? So these are some of the things that come into the entirety of you know, level designs and all of that stuff. And keep in mind though, the 3 hours that were spent were actually just to do the initial open and beginning encounter area. It wasn't the entire Hudson refugee camp. I need to be clear with that. So 3 hours spent in just this open area to convert it. And that's not even building it from scratch, because building it from scratch is a whole different monster. There'll probably be plans and all that stuff. And if you want to know more about Massive's level design process and gameplay design process, go on their YouTube channel where they have their, I think it's called the Fika sessions, which is a little thing that they do. They'll have a developer bring a snack and they'll talk. And there's one interview where they actually interviewed a level designer, I think, and he actually talked about the way they do their process. But anyways, this gameplay at the end of the day, you know, took us close to, you know, 30 something minutes for me and this, you know, other player to complete. even though we were taking our time, I think we died once or twice. You know, this is the new player that joined anyways. They were more careful and they were a lot more, you know, meticulous in the way they played. And it still took us a while. If it was just me, I probably would have been going down multiple times because the enemies were, you know, a little bit higher than me in level. And so when you kind of place all these things, game design starts to get to a whole different, you know, starts to take a whole different turn. And the Division 1 kind of was able to nail it down with these short mission structures that even though they had their difficulty, you could still get through them in a decent amount of time and still feel the challenge, regardless of what difficulty you were playing. I mean, this is if you were playing a difficulty that matched your player level. And I think that's where it won. Now, the Division 2 is slightly different. It confuses players a little bit because, you know, that has longer mission structures and very strong enemies as well. But you kind of don't experience the, you know, your player strength until, you know, you start to progress towards endgame, and then you start to see things change. But again, they're just two different games in terms of gameplay design. And, you know, I'll try my best to do videos on those and kind of talk about what I perceive they were trying to achieve in, you know, in that game. But the Division 1 really does have a clear vision, like, okay, this is what they were doing. And it's a lot more raw and unique because it was the first of the two games. But anyways, I'm going to get out of your hair. I would love for the mission to play fully, but, you know, I had to start it from, you know, from here and cut it a little bit and clip it a bit just so that you guys can have a, you know, pretty much almost the whole mission in this particular commentary video. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. You know, Hudson Refugee Camp, solid mission, solid progression aspect, one of the very first missions you deal with, and I like the way it was positioned in the game. But again, like I said, if you want to watch the gameplay footage, you can go ahead and do that. I appreciate you guys so much. If you enjoyed the content, you can hit like. Talk to you guys very soon in another Division video. Peace out.
They must be planning to burn out the whole damn yard. And when they do, they're gonna kill every last refugee in that shanty town. We need that tank moved somewhere safe.
down. leaving the team.
Okay, Agent. As soon as you lock the situation down, I've got a joint Sarah JTF strike force ready to move in. They'll take samples from as many refugees as they can find.
Medical personnel?
A couple of EMTs in the mix, Doctor? Yes.
A couple? As in only two?
The rest are first aid certified. They know how to tap a vein. Get going, Agent.
Without contaminating the samples, I assume.
Or infecting themselves. Yes.
I'll take your word for it.
Thank you, Doctor. Get moving, Agent.
Dr. Kendall. Sampling team, can you hear me?
Patel here. Go ahead, Doctor.
Oh, Lieutenant, good. Listen, I need you guys to log intake info from everybody you get a sample from. Age, gender, ethnicity, general state of health on a 10-point scale. Then label and group the samples according to...
Excuse me, Doctor, but maybe this could wait until we get confirmation the op is actually complete.
You saying you don't have faith in your agents?
Just focusing on the task at hand. Lieutenant, you'll radio the doctor as soon as the area is secured.
Yes, ma'am. Don't worry, Doctor. We'll get it all worked out.
I hope so. It's only the survival of the human species we're talking about.
Copy that, Doc. Patel out.
You know the situation. It's too late for these people here. They're dead, every one of them. But it's not too late for us. If we do what we gotta do, it might not be too late for the rest of the country. So go to work.
Finish the job.
You know the situation. It's too late for these people here. They're dead, every one of them. But it's not too late for us. If we do what we gotta do, it might not be too late for the rest of the country. So go to work.
Everybody goes, all in.
Agent, if you can find the crane controls, drop that tank someplace safe. That should do it, Agent. Solid work.
Yes, good work. Now, sample team, listen up. Like I was saying, I'm gonna need those blood samples labeled and organized so we can track corroborating factors. Let's move this discussion to a different channel so we don't bore the agent.